Hello and welcome back to Green-HillGaming, where I share my passion of video games with the whole wide world. Chris Redfield is the talk of the internet right now with the reveal of Resident Evil Village. And in this discussion live stream, I will be talking about my journey with Chris Redfield over the years. And hello to my two lovely viewers. Howdy do kaboom. Hello to you. You are very welcome, along with my second viewer, to Green Hill Gaming, where I will be discussing the amazing journey that I've been with Chris Redfield over the years. My journey with Chris Redfield. So yes, he is the talk of the internet right now. Everyone is talking about Chris Redfield ever since the launch, sorry, not the launch, but the reveal trailer. At the very end of that trailer, you see Chris Redfield looking a lot more darker, and he apparently shoots and kills Mia Winters. People are asking, is Chris Redfield a bad guy?
The talk of Chris.
The talk. Well, Chris is the talk of everyone right now. He is the talk of the internet. Oakley dokley, I wrote a few things down and I posted it to social media a couple of days, so that's what I'm going to be reading from now on. It just makes it easier so I don't forget what to say. Oakley dokley. So Chris, I've spelled Redfield wrong. I have to fix that in a second. I called him Chris Redfield. Hello, Chris Redfield. How are you today? Okay, all joking aside. So yeah, myself and Chris Redfield, we have been on an amazing journey over many years. And it is that journey that I want to dedicate this live stream to. So Chris Redfield, from Resident Evil 1 on PS1 to Resident Evil Village on PS5. It has been one hell of a journey, and I have loved every second of it. From the graphical improvements of each console to the twists and turns of each Resident Evil story. I can't wait to see where we go next, Chris. So I wrote that originally, and it's a pity you can't see this, but I actually put two screenshots side by side. A screenshot of Chris Redfield in the original Resident Evil 1 on PS1, and that is beside a screenshot of Chris Redfield from Resident Evil Village. And it just, they say a picture tells 1,000 words. It says a lot about, there's a lot to be said about these two images. Two, in more ways than one, two completely different people. And I will explain why, these are two completely different people. As in, technically they are the same person, but they've changed a lot over the years, and this is why. Now, this is something I posted to my Facebook page because I've seen a lot of people online, and they were like, what's wrong with Chris Redfield? Why does he look so angry? Why does he look so dark? Cheer up, Chris. So I had to come to Chris Redfield's defense, because Chris Redfield is my friend. He's been my friend for many, many years, as I explained. We've been through a lot together. So I felt like I needed to come out there and defend Mr. Redfield. So this is what I wrote. I said, of course Chris is not okay. Biological warfare and bioterrorism has turned this man's life upside down, and he will never again be the man he once was. At the mansion incident, he came face to face with the Umbrella Corporation's sinister biological weapons created by their T-virus, zombies, zombie dogs, a giant snake, the superhuman tyrant. Chris fought for his life against these monsters, while his friends and colleagues were killed, some of which killed right in front of him. He was betrayed by Albert Wesker, who was his captain,
Hello,
but was
good
also
vibes.
working for Umbrella, who was ordered to lead Chris and his colleagues to dispose of them and gather combat data on their biological weapons. When he tried to expose Umbrella to his chief of police, he was ignored because the chief of police was being bribed by Umbrella to keep his mouth shut about what they were doing. His town was nuked when the T-virus leaked into Raccoon City and could not be contained. His sister was captured by Umbrella in Paris and tried to kill her. When the Umbrella Corporation fell, their biological weapons fell into the hands of terrorists and the world faced the threat of bioterrorism. Again, he was betrayed by his bosses and a lot of his colleagues were killed. So no, Chris Redfield is not okay. He's been through a lot. And hello Victor, sorry about my delayed response to your comment. I was just reading out a post that I posted to Facebook about Chris Redfield and what he has been through. He has been through a lot. So you're very welcome to the live stream. Victor, very welcome to Green-HillGaming as always. This is a discussion video / live stream, should I call it live stream, where I discuss my journey with Chris Redfield over many years. I have been on this journey with Chris since the original Resident Evil 1 on PS1. I have seen him, as you heard, I have seen him go through a lot over the years. So this is a discussion video about Chris Redfield and what he has been through over the years, and my journey with him. And yeah, so like as I said, it all started when I got Resident Evil 1 as a gift for the PlayStation 1, and what a game that was. I hadn't played anything like it before. It was just such I didn't know the words back then, but such an atmospheric game. The music and locations created that atmosphere. You just never know what was going to happen next. You never know what monster was going to jump at you at the next corner. The puzzles were extremely difficult, but it was the game where Chris Redfield and I first met. And you know, it was the beginning of Chris Redfield's desperate struggle to survive and piece together what the hell is going on with, you know, with all these biological weapons. And as I mentioned, you know, he came face to face with the Umbrella Corporation's biological weapons created by the T-virus, and he's seen his friends and colleagues, you know, be killed by these biological weapons right in front of him. Imagine what that would do to somebody. So, you know, Chris Redfield was 100% like traumatized from that experience. So, you know, he witnessed and experienced all of that hardship in the mansion, which would be called the Mansion Incident. So that's where I was first introduced to Chris Redfield. And hello to my third viewer. You're very welcome to Green-HillGaming, where I'm discussing Chris Redfield and my journey with Chris Redfield over the years. Now, I've said a lot already, so you can rewind the live stream to hear what I said. But nonetheless, there's still a little bit of time left in the live stream, so I will continue talking. So next time that I would get to control Chris Redfield, the next time that I would experience the continuation of Chris Redfield's journey would be towards the end of Resident Evil Code Veronica X. I didn't play the original Code Veronica that was released on Dreamcast. I had Code Veronica X on PS2. Nonetheless, it's pretty much the same game. And he was originally on a journey to Paris to infiltrate the Umbrella Corporation's European headquarters to find out what they were doing and stop what they were doing. because Chris Redfield found out that the Umbrella Corporation were continuing their research into biological weapons and deadly viruses even after the destruction of Raccoon City. Can you believe that? So with that knowledge, he headed to Europe, to their headquarters, to try to stop them and find out more. But in doing so, he found out that his sister, Claire Redfield, was following him, and she actually got captured by Umbrella at a Paris facility, but it was also acted as a she was going
F
to
for computer voice.
F for the computer voice. Computer voice is working fine. Chad Middleton, the computer voice is working fine, man. Welcome Chad, welcome to Green-HillGaming, or always welcome to the live streams. In this live stream, I am discussing my journey with Chris Redfield over the years. I should have made this a video, really. I should have just recorded myself sitting down talking, because I already said the main part
YouTube
at the beginning.
censor my earlier comment.
Why? What did you type? God, good old YouTube, huh? Never a dull moment with YouTube. Okay, so my main points would have been at the start of this live stream, so you can check that out in your own time. You can rewind it, when this live stream gets uploaded as a video, you'll be able to hear everything I said. But the discussion will continue nonetheless. So once Chris Redfield found out that Claire had been captured heading to the Paris Umbrella facility, he naturally goes looking for her. Goes looking for her. And that jump rope game. Yeah, free to play a jump rope game that came to the Switch. Very random indeed. Might check it out and see what it was like. Very random indeed. I've seen little bits about it actually, yeah, little bits about it. I really enjoyed Code Veronica X actually. Actually said the hardest Resident Evil game in the series. But yeah, you played as Chris Redfield, and so he was originally trying to take down the Umbrella Corporation in Europe, but it became a kind of a rescue mission, rescuing his sister. He also came face to face with Betrayer, which I spoke of earlier.
Those two words are censored by YouTube. Emoji thinking face.
That is so strange. God only knows what YouTube is doing lately. They're a very strange bunch lately, let me tell you that. Very strange indeed. So he comes face to face with Albert Wesker, who actually assaulted his sister Claire Redfield, which would have enraged Chris even more. I mean, it's one thing coming face to face with the man who betrayed you, your entire team, resulted in Albert Wesker was your captain at Stars, but he was also working with the Umbrella Corporation. His orders were to lure Chris and his colleagues into the mansion, dispose of them, gather combat data for their biological weapons. So he comes face to face with Chris comes face to face with Wesker again in Code Veronica. What is it? Chew. All literally heard was chew. Yeah, I agree, Chad. F for the computer voice.
Welcome, Ariana.
Oh, it's not coming up on my live stream. Oh, God almighty. Wait a second now. A bit of a delay. I don't see any Ariana. That is so strange. But nonetheless, welcome Ariana, nonetheless, even though I can't see you on the live chat on my phone anyway at least. But if there is someone called Ariana in the live stream, hello. But all I could hear was chew, followed by a comment from Chad Middleton saying, welcome Ariana, I don't know what's going on. Anyway, back to Chris Redfield. So he comes face to face with Albert Wesker, the man who betrayed him and his entire colleagues and resulted in the death of his entire colleagues and played a part in the mansion incident. They have a bit of a fight. Chris gets away. Sorry, Albert Wesker gets away. Okay, so that is the Resident Evil Code Veronica. Next time that I would meet Chris Redfield again and our journey would continue would be on Resident Evil 5, where Chris Redfield's life at this stage is pretty much like completely and utterly changed. He is not the man he once was. In fact, he up until this stage, he actually believed that his friend and colleague, long-term partner, Jill Valentine, had actually been killed in a mission, an earlier mission, where they found out the location of Oswald E. Spencer, which I'm actually going to be talking about in great detail in an upcoming live stream. Stay tuned for that. He is one of the founders of the Umbrella Corporation and was the CEO and president.
Ari 5-second best in the series.
In terms of sales, Chad, I hear a lot of people saying that. In terms of sales, I love how people just throw sales around all the time when they talk about the greatest game of all time. Sales, sales, sales. And I guarantee you that if Fortnite wasn't free, people would still buy that. Its fan base would still go out and buy the game. I guarantee you, if there was a Fortnite 2, right? Forget Chapter 2. If there was actually a direct sequel to Fortnite, right? And it was a 50, 60 euro game, I guarantee you, every single person who's playing Fortnite right now will go out and buy that. Does that make Fortnite one of the greatest games of all time? I wonder how many people I'd piss off by saying that. So you can't actually sometimes you can't look at sales alone in terms of determining whether it's actually. So I don't think that I would agree with Resident Evil 5 being the second best. Because why would you say the second best? What's your best Resident Evil game? You're obviously talking about sales, Chad. Because I've seen people's comments on social media pointing that out every opportunity they can. Oh, but look at the sales. Look at it. The fact of the matter is, Resident Evil 5 and 6 are terrible Resident Evil games. I've always said down through the years that 5 and 6 are good games. Unfortunately, they're terrible Resident Evil games.
Ari 6 emoji smirk.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, so yeah, in Resident Evil 5, Chris Redfield, very changed man indeed. Again, he believed that. So the mission that they were on anyway, to go after Oswald E. Spencer, one of the founders of the Umbrella Corporation and the president and CEO of the Umbrella Corporation before it folded in 2003. So they go there, but who they actually find is actually Albert Wesker, so they get more than they bargain for. There's a fight. Obviously Albert Wesker, because he's infected with the progenitor virus, is extremely powerful. Results in a massive situation where Jill basically jumps towards Wesker and the two of them follow the window.
Ari 8 needs more explosions. Emoji cool smile.
Explosions. God almighty. Anyway, there was never a body found for Jill, but she was presumed dead. It was along with Wesker presumably as well. So anyway, short synopsis of the story of Resident Evil 5 is basically the Umbrella Corporation is no more. However, the biological weapons that they created got into the hands of terrorists, and then there's bioterrorism as a result of it. And you're basically kind of taken down bioterrorists in Resident Evil 5. Of course, you find out that Wesker is back, and he plays a huge role in the main virus in the game, the Ouroboros. I don't want to be giving a synopsis of the game, but that's the next time that my journey of Chris Redfield rolled on, so to speak. Didn't mean for this live stream to become so long, but yeah. So without mentioning every single game that he appeared in, I'll tell you what. I have two people watching the live stream. You're one of them, Chad. You haven't heard me read out what I wrote on social media a couple of days ago. Really all I wanted to say was these two posts. I wanted to call out these two posts that I uploaded onto Facebook. I think they sum it up pretty well. So what I said was, Chris Redfield, from Resident Evil 1 on PS1 to Resident Evil 8 on PS5, it has been one hell of a journey.
When are you playing Dead Aim?
When I'm playing Dead Aim, never. And I have loved every second of it, from the graphical improvements of each console to the twists and turns of each Resident Evil story. I can't wait to see where we go next. Chris. And this is a longer post that I posted basically about what Chris Redfield has been through. The reason I posted this chat is because I was looking at social media and people were like, what's wrong with Chris? They were looking at the fact that Chris is so dark in the end of the Resident Evil Village trailer, and they were like, what's wrong with him? Why can't he be happy and stuff? So I had to post this. So I said, of course Chris is not okay. Biological warfare and bioterrorism has turned his this man's life upside down, and he will never be the man he once was. At the mansion incident, he came face to face with the Umbrella Corporation's sinister biological weapons created by the T-virus, zombies, zombie dog, a giant snake, the superhuman tyrant. Chris fought for his life against these monsters, while his friends and colleagues were killed, some of which killed right in front of him. He was betrayed by Albert Wesker, who was his captain, but was also working for Umbrella, who was ordered to lead
turned into Big
Chris
Boss
and his colleagues. Nice way to look at it. Into the mansion to dispose of them and gather combat data on their biological weapons. When he tried to expose Umbrella to his chief of police, he was ignored because the chief of police was being bribed by Umbrella to keep his mouth shut
Snake
about what they were doing. His tongue was nuked when the T-virus leaked into Raccoon City and could not be contained. His sister was captured by Umbrella in Paris and tried to kill her. When the Umbrella Corporation fell, their biological weapons fell into the hands of terrorists, and the world faced the threat of bioterrorism. Again, he was betrayed by his bosses, and a lot of his colleagues were killed. So no, Chris is not okay. That is why Chris is not okay. Now, I'm not going to give any theories about Resident Evil Village right now, or any theories of what Chris Redfield is all about in Resident Evil Village, at least not right now, but I will have a lot to say about Resident Evil Village, and I will have a lot to say about Chris Redfield in Resident Evil Village in a few other live streams. But the point of this live stream was to just kind of like, just to discuss really what Chris Redfield has been through in a nutshell, basically, over the years, without giving an entire the entirety of Chris Redfield's life, like, you know what I mean, in its entirety. Just to kind of just my quick synopsis in terms of like what this man has been through, like in a nutshell, focused on the main things really, which is the fact that, you know, he's been fighting biological warfare and bioterrorism all of his life, and it has defined him as the man that he is. And of course, like everything that he has experienced over the years is going to obviously change, you know, his personality and how he thinks. And, you know, so I want to discuss that. And just for myself as well, like, you know, I've played every mainline Resident Evil game in the series. So I've seen Chris, you know, through all of this, and I've seen him change through all of this. In fact, there was an interesting cutscene in Resident Evil 6, which I didn't actually buy. Thankfully, I've never bought that game. I don't plan on buying it ever. I think it was like free. Oh no, I got it on. I played a little bit of it on PlayStation Now. But thankfully, I've actually not paid a single cent for Resident Evil 6. I don't plan on either. I just watched all the cutscenes on YouTube. But there was a nice cutscene early on in the game where I think his name is Pierce. Chris's colleague is kind of looking for Chris, and Chris is like sitting in a bar, you know, and he's just like alone, and he's just so like, he's just angry at everything that has happened. In terms of like biological warfare and terrorism, and angry at himself really for, you know, what he believes to be, you know, personal failures and stuff, because I believe he got a lot of his colleagues killed or something, because something went wrong. So you know, and he's shouting at the barmaid, you know what I mean, and he's just, it's a really nice scene. You just see this like broken character. Interestingly enough, there's actually a scene in Resident Evil, I think it's called Vengeance or something. It's one of those CGI Resident Evil movies where the same thing is happening to Leon. And I think it's actually Chris that's actually going to Leon and saying, Leon, get yourself together, you know, so interesting. And they have history too, because they actually went face to face in Resident Evil 6. Anyway, less about Resident Evil 6 now. But yeah, so I'm actually really looking forward to Resident Evil Village, to say the least, and I'm really intrigued and excited to see where Chris's story goes next. Well, speaking of Chris's story, you've been looking back.
Johnny.
You've been looking back at a Not a Hero. Hello, Elemental Ninja. How are you keeping, man? Welcome to Green-HillGaming, where I was and already discussed my journey with Chris Redfield over the years, and I was also just about to mention the fact that I will be playing Not a Hero later tonight in a late night live stream, so look forward to that. But the point of this live stream was to discuss my journey with Chris Redfield over the years, and you know what this man has been through. So Elemental Ninja, I won't read out the post that I put on Facebook because I feel like it'd be too repetitive, but just to give you a quick kind of version of it. Basically, I was just pointing out that, you know, I have been with Chris, you know, myself and Chris, we go back to the original Resident Evil 1 and PS1, all the way back to the mansion incident.
Pokemon Direct tomorrow.
I seen that, alright, yeah. I don't know if it's a Pokemon Direct, but it's definitely something Pokemon related anyway. So, you know, in the mansion incident, you know, Chris Redfield was introduced to biological warfare. He was betrayed by Albert Wesker, who was his captain, also working with the Umbrella Corporation, and Wesker was ordered to lure Chris and his colleagues into the mansion to gather combat data for the Umbrella Corporation's biological weapons, dispose of stars because they knew too much. And yeah, so like Chris experiences all of that, you know, betrayal, horror, his colleagues being killed by Umbrella's biological weapons, and that's kind of the beginning of Chris's journey. But it goes all the way to, like, you know, even after Umbrella's fall, Umbrella's biological weapons, they unfortunately get into the hands of terrorists, and that gives birth then to bioterrorism. So Chris's fight against you know, biological weapons doesn't end at the end of the mansion incident, or even at the fall of Raccoon City. He's been fighting bioterrorism all his life, and he has been on one hell of a journey, and I've enjoyed every second of his journey. So that's what this live stream basically was all about. This is pretty much the ending of the live stream discussion, really. But if you want to hear everything I said, Elemental Ninja, or to anyone else who is just joining the live stream, you know, when this gets uploaded onto YouTube as a video, you know, you can go back and you can rewind it, and you can listen to everything I said. I should have kept it a short discussion, really. I should have just read out what I wrote on Facebook and left it at that. But yeah, so like Chris Redfield, I mean, he is. You can't think of Resident Evil without thinking of Chris Redfield. In fact, you can't have a Resident Evil game, I think, without having some sort of reference to Chris Redfield. He is the original hero. He is the original survivor. You know, anyone who survived the mansion incident, you know, is a Resident Evil veteran. You know, everyone bangs on about Leon this and Leon that, and I guarantee you, a lot of the people who are like banging on about Leon S. Kennedy are basically fans who were only introduced to him with Resident Evil 4. You know what I mean? The cool hairstyle and the jacket, and yeah, that's why people like Leon so much. I don't even think it's the fact that they actually played Resident Evil 2 on the PS1. It was just the fact that like 4 was such a successful Resident Evil game. I mean, it was Resident Evil 4 that really propelled the Resident Evil series into the mainstream market, into the, you know, that's where like the sales started to go up, you know, to the roof, like, and beyond, to the moon. So yeah, I think of, like, when I think of a veteran of the Resident Evil series, when I think of a hero, you know, I think of, even though looking back at not a hero, I think of Chris Redfield all the way. It's going to have to be Chris Redfield. So yeah, just this is what this live stream is all. Remembering Chris Redfield down through the years, across many consoles, mainly PlayStation. I think it was nice and appropriate that Resident Evil Village got announced at the PlayStation 5 reveal event, because I know that Resident Evil has appeared on many consoles over the years, and it's had an interesting journey, really, when you think about it. I'm actually shooting down my own theory here now, but like, I'm just saying, like, Resident Evil 1, I think, will always be known as a PlayStation game, even though it appeared in Sega Saturn. But like, Sega Saturn wasn't really a popular console, and it just didn't have the same performance as PlayStation 1. So I think anyone who played the original Resident Evil will obviously associate it to the PlayStation 1, you know. But what's interesting nonetheless, though, because it did appear on other consoles, though, what's interesting about it, and to give an example of that, is Code Veronica, which, no matter how anyone wants to put a spin onto it, is a mainline Resident Evil game. I don't care what anyone says. I mean, it was originally intended to be the real Resident Evil 3, because it continues directly after the events of Resident Evil 2. Like, you know, you find out like where Leon went, and you find out where Claire went. So it is a mainline Resident Evil series, and if you actually look at the Veronica, if you focus on No, I'm getting mixed up now. I was going to say that it was a Resident Evil 5, but it's actually not. It's a Resident Evil. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Anyway, it is a mainline Resident Evil game. It doesn't matter what anyone says about that. Oh, it's not a mainline Resident Evil game. It's a spin-off. Fuck off. A spin-off is Revelations 1 and 2. That's a spin-off. That's a spin-off. You know what I mean? A spin-off is like, you know, games like Dead Aim and the Survivor series and, you know, Operation Raccoon City. Those are spin-offs. Code Veronica is a mainline Resident Evil game. So much was introduced into that game, and you know, you can't ignore what happens in Code Veronica without a shadow of a doubt. So yeah, so anyway, Code Veronica actually appeared on the Dreamcast. So if you were a Resident Evil fan, right, and you wanted to experience the next entry into the Resident Evil series, you had to buy a Dreamcast. And the same was said about Resident Evil 4. I'm laughing because, Jesus Christ, for a game that was once a GameCube exclusive, that game is available on anything but your toaster, for God's sake, at this stage. It's so funny. But no, there was a time where, believe it or not, Resident Evil 4 was only available on one console, and that was the GameCube. But I think like less than a year it appeared on the PS2. Because obviously the GameCube was a flop, you know, compared to PS2 and Xbox. So like Capcom were like, okay, we want to make money here, we're going to have to put this on PS2. So they put it on PS2 because PS2 was the fastest and highest selling console of that generation. But nonetheless, like there was a time like where if you wanted to experience the next entry into the Resident Evil series, you had to go out and buy a GameCube. And so a lot of people were like, really? So I have to buy a GameCube? I'm like, well, if you want Resident Evil, yes. And little know the game would end up being on every console under the fucking moon after that. So I always find that interesting. So yeah, Code Veronica. Jesus Christ, how did I get talking about Code Veronica? But yeah, so I wanted to give this kind of, I suppose, like personal and a little bit in depth. Even though I didn't intend on it being so in depth, but
RE4 is up there with Skyrim.
Oh, at this stage it is, Chad. You're right there, man. At this stage it really is up there with Skyrim. Although I think GTA 5 is coming for the title. It's coming for the title. You know, GTA 5 wants to win, you know, the World Re-Release Championship. I've just made that up right there, of re-releases, man. Oh, honest to God, man. But yeah, it is crazy. Like, I mean, I actually have it somewhere, the original GameCube version of Resident Evil, and it, you know, the corner of the box. Only I'm gonna find it right now. Actually, I'm gonna find it. Just give me 2 seconds there.
GTA Online, emoji smirk.
Oh, what about GTA Online, man? What about GTA Online, huh? Man, I hope I don't get attacked by a spider here now. That would be nice, huh? Okay, I thought I had... Okay, I'm going to close that again because I saw a cobweb and that's enough for me. Yep. Alright, it's there somewhere anyway. But it's funny to see the only on GameCube sticker on the corner of the box, man. Crazy looking back in it. But Chris Redfield, Mr. Redfield. So yeah, so I wanted to do this discussion video, and I wanted to keep it personal. As in, when I say personal, I mean not to have a jab at YouTubers, but some YouTubers just basically look at what everyone else is saying about Chris Redfield, and they pretty much just copy it, and it becomes just like, I don't know how to put it, but it becomes like a language, and they're basically saying the same things other people are saying. So I wanted to talk about Chris Redfield in the most personal way that I could. Do you know what I mean? And put it in a personal way. Like, that's what I wanted to do, and a little bit in depth, because I feel like some people, they look at Chris Redfield at the end of the trailer, and they're like, oh, you know, he's a bad guy. They're 100%. They don't give it any thought, and I don't know. I just think sometimes I just don't look at it in an in-depth way. I mean, the man has been through hell and back. You know, honestly, like. And I got to talk about this actually in another live stream, but I got something planned that I want to do, and I won't talk about it now. I'm always adding suspense lately to my live streams. Next, And Green-HillGaming, what will happen? No, but yeah, I could bang on about this for the whole night, because that's how passionate I am about the Resident Evil series and Chris Redfield. But in closing, you know, like, what a journey, you know.
He didn't get the Jill sandwich, emoji smirk.
Jesus Christ. Oh God. But if you rewind that journey, if you back up from Chris Redfield's journey, I mean, like from his latest appearance in Resident Evil Village, all the way to when Chris Redfield made a decision to fight the good fight, to protect civilians, to fight. And I think that goes back to his time in the, oh God, I don't know what, I just said the military. I don't know if it was the US Navy SEALs. I don't know if it was, but he was in the military anyway. I do know that much. And then he was obviously, you know, he obviously got hired by STAR, Special Tactics and Rescue Squad, or Service, whatever you want to call it, the Special Forces Division of the Raccoon City Police Department. You got to go all the way back. And then, you know, his destiny was sealed when he came knocking on the door. Well, he didn't come knocking on the door, but I'm going to say it anyway, of the mansion, the Spencer mansion. Nothing in his training could have ever prepared that man for what he was about to step into when he stepped into the mansion. Biological weapons, and we ain't talking about smallpox here, you know. We're talking about flesh-eating undead. You know, we're talking about zombie dogs and giant killing spiders and giant snakes and superhuman tyrants. Nothing could have prepared Chris Redfield for the mansion incident, and it was the mansion incident that, again, sealed the fate of Chris Redfield's life. You know, and I can remember all of that. Like, I can remember the first time Chris Redfield saw the zombie, you know, in the mansion. I can remember all of that like it was yesterday, you know, and it's been one hell of a journey. And, you know, his fight didn't stop, you know, his journey didn't stop. It just kept going and going and going, because as soon as he found out the truth behind the mansion incident, that all of these attacks and killings that occurred in Raccoon City was connected to the Umbrella Corporation and their biological weapons created by the T-virus, and realizing that he was betrayed, his team was betrayed by Albert Wesker, who was not only the captain of STARS, but was working with the Umbrella Corporation. And Wesker deliberately intended to lure STARS into the mansion, to get them killed, to gather combat data for the biological weapons, and to dispose of them so they wouldn't reveal the truth. But obviously they survived. Chris goes to the Raccoon City Police Department. That happened, but they were ignored, because they would later find out that the chief of police, Brian Irons, however he wants to put his name, he was being bribed. Now, he wasn't working for the Umbrella Corporation. He was bribed by the Umbrella Corporation to keep his mouth shut. So, like, imagine that. Imagine being Chris Redfield and experiencing everything that he did in the mansion incident, surviving it and wanting to fight the good fight, you know, and reveal to the world what happened, and not being listened to by the actual police force. And of course, the citizens didn't listen, because, you know, Umbrella was such a huge business, such a huge corporation. So many people were employed by the Umbrella Corporation. You know, the civilians, the citizens of Raccoon City, didn't want to rise up against the Umbrella Corporation, so they kept shut too. Their mouth shut too. They didn't open up their mouth about anything. It would be their downfall when, you know, the virus eventually leaked into the city. It could not be contained, and it had to be nuked. But Chris's fight wasn't over, you know what I mean? He goes off to Europe, you know, to investigate Umbrella. Finds out that his sister
Duke Nukem 3D on Switch, emoji cool smile.
Duke Nukem 3D on Switch. Ah, good news, man. At least some Switch-related news is coming. I'm not a huge Duke Nukem fan, I gotta say. I'm not a huge Duke Nukem fan, like, you know, like, any Duke Nukem fans out there, that's good news for them. I'm still waiting for something very big, you know, to be released for Switch, because this feels so strange. Like Nintendo have like absolutely no presence right now in terms of like game announcements. It's crazy. You know, Jumper Up here, woohoo, Jumper Up, Game of the Year, woohoo, fucking hell. But anyway, I must go now because my potatoes are going to burn any second. Okay, so that was just my little video that I wanted to put together for my own sake, really. Just to kind of, you know, remind myself of my journey with Chris Redfield and what he has been through.
It's 49950 off pre-order.
It's what? Oh yeah, it's $4.99, 50% off the pre-order. I'll have a look at that now in a moment. But anyway, Chad, I hope that you enjoyed my Chris Redfield discussion video, and everyone else watching as well. I'll be talking about Chris a lot more, you know, in my upcoming live streams. Of course, I'm going to be playing Not a Hero later on tonight, so you can look forward to that. I'm sure I'll have a lot more to say about Chris, you know, leading up to the release of Resident Evil Village. So, you know, stay tuned for all of that, but I gotta go now and eat. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Green Hill Gaming.